not be the same. Few people laughed. Few people cried. Most people were silent. I remembered the line from the Hindu scripture, the Bhagavad Gita. Now I am become death, the destroyer of worlds. I suppose we all thought that, one way or another.
Welcome to Afterwards. Today we're going to be discussing Robert Oppenheimer, the Bhagavad Gita, and the famous phrase, "I am become death, destroyer of worlds." The year is 1965, 20 years after the successful Trinity test in Los Alamos, New Mexico. Robert Oppenheimer, the leader of the Manhattan Project, reflects on how the world's first atomic bomb mushroomed into the New Mexico morning, marking the dawn of a new age. But what does this phrase, "I am become death, destroyer of worlds," mean? Where did it come from, and what does it mean for Oppenheimer? Let's explore. As Oppenheimer says, the phrase, "I am become death, destroyer of worlds," comes from the Hindu scripture, the Bhagavad Gita, otherwise known as the Gita. The Gita is a story about war, it is a story about Prince Arjun, and more importantly, and relevant to Oppenheimer's life, it is a story about duty, destiny, and faith. The Gita begins, as many great epics do, amidst war. Prince Arjun finds himself at war against his family and friends to defend his brother's claim to the throne. Prince Arjun is frightened and hesitant, so he seeks counsel and guidance from the heavens, from Krishna, an avatar of Vishnu, who appears before Prince Arjun as his charioteer. Prince Arjun tells Krishna, "I see my own relations here, anxious to fight, and my limbs grow weak. I do not see that any good can come from killing our own relations in battle. My will is paralyzed and I am utterly confused. Tell me which is the better path for me. Let me be your disciple. I have fallen at your feet. Give me instruction." And so, Krishna instructs Prince Arjun about duty, destiny, and faith. According to Krishna, everyone has a particular dharma. Your dharma is who you are as an individual in the context of the group. Your dharma is your essence, and consequently, your rights and responsibilities thereof, your duty. Dharma is the harmony of the universe. An old Hindu story describes this point nicely. Once upon a time, a sage sat aside the Ganges River and noticed that a scorpion had fallen into the water. The sage reached over and rescued the scorpion, only to be stung by the scorpion in return. Sometime later, he saw the same scorpion fall into the water, and once more he reached down to rescue it, only to be stung for a second time. A bystander observed all this and asked the sage, "O Holy One, why do you keep doing that? Don't you see that the wretched creature will only sting you in return?" "Of course," the sage replied. "It is the dharma of a scorpion to sting, and it is the dharma of a human being to save." Humans as a group have a dharma, but also individually. Those with a propensity for fighting are warriors, those with a propensity for healing are doctors, those with a propensity for ruling are governors, and so on and so forth. Prince Arjun is a warrior, and so it is his duty to fight. Krishna tells Prince Arjun, "Considering your dharma, you should not vacillate, for a warrior confronted with such a war should be pleased, Arjun, for it is as an open gate to heaven." Did Oppenheimer believe that scientists have their own dharma? It seems, at least in part, that he did think that he had a duty as a scientist to act in a certain way and not in another.
We're theorists. Yes?
It is, however, also certainly true that Oppenheimer was guided by his anti-fascist principles, whether those came from his socialist background or more simply, human decency.
I support a range of causes. Spanish Civil War, a democratic republic being overthrown by fascist thugs. Who wouldn't?
Why do you think that Oppenheimer chose to help build the bomb? Was it even his choice? So, everyone has their dharma, but what does this mean about destiny and free will? What does the Gita have to say about destiny? Krishna tells our prince, "Arise, conquer your enemies and enjoy the glory of sovereignty. I have already slain these warriors, you will only be my instrument." What do these words mean? Was Prince Arjun's destiny already determined? Can there be free will if we are the mere instrument of God? There is something deterministic about the Gita. This determinism can be best felt in the notion of karma, that is, the principle of cause and effect in relation to birth and rebirth, in relation to dharma, and in relation to the path to liberation. More on that later. According to karma, every action is the reasonable result of a preceding action ad infinitum. Karma is the sum of your life's choices in this life and in past lives. How are some of Oppenheimer's choices already determined by previous choices? Did he have any choice in having scientific and intellectual inclinations? How did these inclinations impact his choice to study mathematics, science, Hinduism, leftist political theory? How did his choice to get himself involved in leftist political circles later impact his choices in the Manhattan Project?
My assumption is that it was connected to his left-wing political activities.
You shouldn't let them bring their politics in the classroom, Bobby.
How was his decision to join the Manhattan Project impacted by previous decisions? Does Oppenheimer have free will if his choices are impacted by past actions and past lives? More generally, how can Oppenheimer said to have free will at all if his destiny is determined by a supreme Godhead? If we analyze this with libertarian lenses, there seems to be little room for free will. A strict libertarian notion of free will, after all, requires the capacity to make choices that are not determined by prior causes or divine intervention. It requires the highest degree of human agency that at a minimum is independent from a supreme Godhead's will. Let's not forget, however, that we embarked on this journey because Prince Arjuna had a choice to make, because he was unsure about that choice. Why would Krishna waste his time instructing Prince Arjuna if the choice had already been made? It is because the choice was not made that Krishna had to instruct Prince Arjuna, and ultimately guide him to action. The Gita views freedom not as the ability to do whatever one wants outside of external forces, cosmically or governmental, but rather as the breaking free from the cycle of karma, the cycle of birth and rebirth, the duality of opposites. This, according to the Gita, is what makes one truly free. Krishna says, those who live in accordance with these divine laws are released from karma. Krishna teaches Arjuna that there are three gunas of nature: sattva, beingness and harmony; rajas, activity and passion; and tamas, darkness and chaos. Krishna teaches, from the sattva comes understanding, from the rajas greed, and from tamas confusion, infatuation, and ignorance. For the Gita, to be unfree is to be bound by your desires, lust, ego, greed, that is, the rajas and the tamas. Hypocritical, proud and arrogant, living in delusion and clinging on to the deluded ideas, insatiable in their desires. I got this today, they say. Tomorrow I shall get that. This wealth is mine and that will be mine too. I have destroyed my enemies and I shall destroy others too. Am I not like God? I enjoy what I want. I am successful. I am powerful. I am happy. This is how they go on, deluded by their ignorance, bounded by their greed. The sattva, on the other hand, is the path towards liberation. Those who follow the path of the sattva are not attached to the result of their actions and are therefore free from the fever of the ego. They make their choices not from what can result of them, but rather for the choices themselves. They save the scorpion not for the praise of their neighbors, but rather because saving a life is good in itself. One who is free from selfish attachments, who has mastered himself and his passions, attains supreme perfection of freedom from action, unerring in discrimination, sovereign in the senses and passions, free from the clans or of likes and dislikes. Such one leads simple, self-reliant life based on meditation, controlling speech, body, and mind. Krishna wants to teach Arjuna this enlightened detachment, but just knowledge is not enough for someone like Prince Arjuna. Prince Arjuna is a warrior, and therefore his liberation must also come through action. Krishna says to our prince, "For a warrior, nothing is higher than a war against evil. By devotion to one's particular duty, everyone can attain perfection." Finally, Krishna speaks, "I give you these precious words of wisdom, reflect on them, and then do as you choose." How did these teachings impact Oppenheimer's own choice to build the world's first atomic bomb? How did they impact the way he behaved at his security clearance hearings? Do we think that Oppenheimer lived his life according to sattva? If we truly believe in reincarnation, was Oppenheimer reborn as someone closer or further from liberation? Returning to Prince Arjuna's choice, there is one more part of the Gita that we have to discuss: faith. It is in this part of the Gita that Oppenheimer borrows his famous quote. Krishna preaches, "Our faith conforms to our nature. Human nature is made of faith. Those who have not faith in the supreme law of life do not find me. They return to the world, passing from death to death." Krishna tells Arjuna to trust not only in the teachings he is receiving, but also in himself, to renounce acting for the sake of results, but rather act for the sake of acting itself, to act according to his dharma, to trust in his destiny, and to follow the path of the sattva. Arjuna replies, "O Krishna, I believe everything you have told me is divine truth. Neither gods nor demons know your real nature. Indeed, you alone know yourself, O Supreme Spirit. I can never tire of hearing your immortal words." Finally, believing and trusting in Krishna's words, Prince Arjuna asked if he could see Krishna, not in his form as a charioteer, but in divine form. And so, Krishna appeared before Prince Arjuna with an infinite number of faces, ornamented with heavenly jewels, displaying unending miracles and weapons of his power. There, in the body of the God of gods, Prince Arjuna saw all the manifolds of the universe united as one. The infinite appearing as one, Krishna told Prince Arjuna, "I am become death, destroyer of worlds." And what is death? In my translation of the Gita, it reads, "I am become time, destroyer of all. Time is life, time is death." Prince Arjuna chose to fight, Robert Oppenheimer chose to build the bomb. Did Oppenheimer believe that he created a weapon out of divinity when he and the scientists of the Manhattan Project launched the first atomic bomb? Likely so. Oppenheimer must have felt like death, like time, creating a weapon that could end the world as we know it. A weapon made from the very essence of the universe, the nucleus of atoms. So, what do you think? How much do you think that Oppenheimer's life was impacted by the Gita? Did he view himself as a scientist in essence? How much do you think that he believed in Krishna's teachings? We'll likely never know the answer to these questions, but what is certain is that Oppenheimer's choices, and all the choices that came before him, changed the world forever. In the words of Cillian Murphy,
"We made a film about the man who created the atomic bomb, and for better or for worse, we're all living in Oppenheimer's world, so I would really like to dedicate this to the peacemakers everywhere.